Good evening and welcome to Enemy Within. It's Friday the 16th of October 2015, 7 p.m. on peoplesinternetradio.com, and tonight it's going to be proved to be an interesting show because Tom's busy tonight, so I'm joined by a guy who does an awful lot of work in the background at PIR and who I honestly think we don't hear enough of him speaking. Tony. Good evening, Tony.
Hi, Andy.
All right, mate. And also, we're joined by James Cox. Now, I've got a bio of James, but I'm having major computer malfunctions that won't allow me to get the file up.
You want me to read it again?
Yeah, sorry, James, man. You're on air this time, so that's a bonus.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure being here on Andy's show, Enemy Within. My name is James Cox. I'm the founder of Peace, Freedom, Prosperity.com. I am a self-proclaimed anarchist, voluntarist, and I seek a world of freedom, a world in which all individuals have authority over their own lives, and no one is forced to sacrifice his or her values for the benefit of others. I accept that respect for the individual's free will is the essential precondition for a free and prosperous world, and that force and fraud must be banished from human relationships, and that only through acting on a voluntary, mutual, consensual basis that freedom, peace, and prosperity can be achieved. It is every person's right to engage in any activity that is peaceful and honest, and we should welcome the diversity that freedom brings. The world that I seek is one where individuals are free to follow their own dreams in their own ways without interference from government or any authoritarian power.
That's quite a list there, James.
Yeah.
So, what is it you're doing at the minute? I know you've got your website set up there, and you've got your YouTube channel, and I've seen you've done quite a few podcasts online.
Yeah, I've got a couple of YouTube channels. I've got peacefreedomprosperity.com. You can type in YouTube, peacefreedomprosperity.com. And I've also got my own YouTube channel, where I do artistic things. I've made a few videos recently. We've got these people talking about the flat earth, and I've done some mocking videos of that. And some people believe that what I'm saying is real, and some people, know that it's not real, and they know it's just a mockery. Like I said, everybody has the right to express themselves, and, that could be in an artistic form. I believe that we're all actors on this planet. The reason why I say actors is because we act out our actions. A few things that I wanted to say as well before you ask me that question as well is, one thing that I've started a long time ago actually is not to believe everything that I read, hear, or see, because there's always three sides to a story. There's your side, there's the person's side who's either created the video, or the person that you're talking to, and there's also the truth. And anything that I say in this broadcast, what I would like to say is that basically it's just my opinion only, and how I want to live my life. I'm not forcing my opinions on anyone. I do feel, though, that if everybody was to, kind of live their life this way, that this world that we all live in would be a better place. And what I'm talking about basically is my values, and all I ask of people is to accord me these values, as I will accord people that them their values. And that doesn't mean that we should all fully agree on things. It just means that we should not use threats of physical force or use physical force to make someone accept each other's values. I adopt something that's called the non-aggression principle, which a lot of anarchists do, and that basically means it's also known as the non-aggression axiom, and it's what that is. It's a moral principle that prohibits the initiation of force by one person against another. Now, it doesn't mean to say that you can't use force to defend yourself. That's quite okay. But you should not go around initiating force just because you want to force your will on somebody by making them change their mind. I'm a man of peace, a man of love, and I think that it's something that, we've not tried. We've not tried peace and love. And, it looks like that whenever that gets tried, you've seen Gandhi, Martin Luther King, John Lennon, a few others that have tried this, and we know how that ends, don't we? But I think that if we can all do this horizontally and not vertically, because I say that there is no authority but yourself, that it would be very hard to rub somebody out if you've got a lot of people on this planet all echoing the same message, and basically that they're their own leader, but they're not the leader of anybody else.
That's excellent, James. Something that I feel I must comment on at the beginning of this interview is your accent. It amazes me. It's kind of mid-Atlantic. You've got a little bit of Yorkshire twang in there, and also a little bit of US, and I think it sounds really amazing.
Thanks. A lot of people say that to me. They say, "Where the hell are you from?" Especially over here, they say, and I'm getting now people on my YouTube videos comment, "Where the hell are you from?" Like that accent that you've got, I just can't place it. It's so distinct. It's so weird. And then they start guessing, are you from South Africa? Are you from New Zealand, Australia? But they never, they never guess that I'm originally from England. Yeah, I was born in South Yorkshire, just outside a place called Rotherham. If you don't know Rotherham, then the nearest biggest city is Sheffield. And, that's where I'm originally from. And I've been living over here in the States now for about, 15 years. So I'm in North Carolina right now.
Yeah, it's easy to pick up a bit of the local accent. We were saying earlier about it off air, and wherever I go, I tend to pick up a bit of the accent. The weird one, though, was when I was speaking Spanish when I lived in Spain. People tried to guess where I was from. They always guessed Russia, because apparently I speak Spanish with a Russian accent. Now, how the hell that happened, I don't know. But, so, what interests me about you is you're like People's Internet Radio, you're seeking solutions.
Yeah, I'm seeking solutions, and I think that basically before we look at what the solutions are, how we can change things, and change actually has to, start with each and every single one of us. We all have to think about and question everything. We should question everything and everyone. And if you see someone getting angry when you are questioning them about their values, then you may have just met someone with an, can never say this, authoritarian mindset. Mm-hmm. So people that have this mindset that don't like to be questioned, they see themselves as an authority, and they don't want to be questioned, and they think they're above everybody else. And we're all human beings, and we're on this planet. We're on this planet together. This rock that's hurtling through space that we call Earth, and I would like to talk about certain things, what I think's wrong. And I think a lot of the things that are wrong is the fact that even from being young, we've been lied to and we've been deceived. And what we've been lied to and we've been deceived to about is abstract ideas. An abstract idea is, something that somebody talks about that gives a name to something. It's a concept. It's just an idea. It doesn't really exist. And it's opposite to what's concrete. So what we know as a tree is real. You can touch it. You can see it. You know, if you hit it, if you punch it with your hand, you know, real hard, you might get hurt. However, there are concepts and there are ideas, right? And ideas that require the use of threat of force or the use of force are bad ideas. Would you agree, Andy?
By and large, yeah.
What about you, Tony? Would you agree that ideas that require the use of threats of force or the use of force are bad ideas?
Yeah, I don't think there's many people out here that wouldn't agree with that, really. Only those that want to control others by that means, I suppose.
Right. Well, here's the thing. The majority of ideas, information, knowledge that we've absorbed has come from someone else, right? And who's to say that they are correct? And this thing called government is just an idea. It's an abstract idea. It's not concrete. Sure, there are buildings that they call government buildings, and there are certain things, you know, that they call government. But the actual thing, the politician it's an idea. It's not real. Government's not real. You can't touch it. You know, you can't touch you can't touch this idea called politicians. At the end of the day, it's just a man or a woman, just like you or I. And it's the same with police. Police, this thing called police is an abstract idea. It's just a man or a woman in a costume with the word, you know, police on it. And they have all these, over here they have death and torture devices. And, I guess they have death and torture devices now. They carry death and torture devices over in the UK. I know at some airports they've got MP5 machine guns and things like that. I know that they do have ARVs, armored response vehicles in the UK. That's a car with lots of guns in the back that a certain amount of men and women are trained to use them. And so, you know, I like to discuss things in layman's terms, and I like to break it down so it makes it easy for people to understand. At the end of the day, right, these people that claim to have authority over everybody are just men and women. They're nothing different than you and I, right? And that people have got this notion in their head, because they've been told this from being young, that we have to have government, that we have to have police, that we have to have a military. Well, what if basically everybody was armed? What if everybody had the right, anybody that wanted a gun, like they do here in the US, had a gun? In areas over here in the United States, there's not much crime where people know that there are guns, because there's a chance of somebody getting killed or, you know, shot. I know not that I'm for laws, but I think this was a good idea, but it shouldn't have been presented as a law. And you can Google this. There's a city called Kennesaw in Georgia, and its crime rate was high. And, I think it was the mayor passed an ordinance or a law that everybody in the city had to have a gun in their house, unless you were, you know, you could prove that you were mentally unstable or it was against your religion or something like that. So once this law got passed, you know what happened to the crime?
I would imagine it almost evaporated.
Yeah, I mean, just silly little petty crimes happened, but there was burglaries dropped, rapes, robbery, you know, they just, you know, become practically almost non-existent. So, you know, that's a good idea, and I think that everybody has the right to defend themselves, you know, against anybody that wants to use aggression and wants to use force against, you know, want to steal something that somebody's worked hard to get. So, yeah, in that instance, that, aggression in defense, is a good thing. And we have people, like I say, that believe and they want this government, because somebody's got to be in charge, because if they think that if there isn't anybody in charge, if there isn't anybody ruling the roost, as the quote goes, then we'll all be running around eating one another's faces off, like zombies. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that would happen. Another thing that I want to touch on, which is another abstract idea, concept, is taxation. People, this is a nice way of saying that you have to pay us a portion of your fruits of your labor, or some men and women in a costume with death and torture devices will come and kidnap and cage you. And, taxation's theft. That's all it is. It's a bad idea. However, what's insane about it is this. If you were to go on the streets and just ask people that you've never met before, and I'll ask you two guys, would you pay somebody to tell you what you can do and what you can't do?
Well, for me, of course I wouldn't. But that's the unfortunate position we found ourselves in. Our public servants are not servants, are they?
This is what we do. We pay people to boss us around, to tell us what we can do and what we can't do, right? And it's an insane and it's a bad idea, and the use of force, threats of violence, kidnapping and caging, and this is what I call it, because like I said, I like to break this down into layman's terms, because they use these nice fluffy words like arrest. Oh, he got arrested, because it sounds nicer than kidnapping. And that's what the police do. The police actually kidnap you. Now, I'm not saying that, somebody shouldn't have a word with somebody if they're doing something that may cause a problem, right? I don't think that you need an ordinance or a law or an act or these ideas. That's all they are. They're just ideas that these men and women, their wills, they're forced upon everybody. And how they're forced upon everybody is somebody gets the notion to write it down on a magical piece of paper, these magic words. And then these people, these men and women that call themselves politicians, meet in a chamber. And they have this magical ritual. And then, all of a sudden, that becomes a law, right? And realistically, it's all a law is, all laws are, is a, idea backed with the, use of force. That's all it is. These laws. Now, if we want to talk about then, okay, James, you're saying there shouldn't be any laws. That doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't be living by principles. And I mentioned the non-aggression principle. You can Google the non-aggression principle, and basically that just means that you should not aggress against anybody. And you shouldn't steal. There's just a few things. These are just moral codes, morality that we should all be living by. Citations, that's another tax. You may not have, you've not harmed anybody or their property, and you are written an extortion note, because you disobeyed the order. That's, you're driving down the road and there's one of those round signs that they have in England, with the red border around it. That's an order, and it's got a number in the middle. Let's say 30, and you're doing 40. Next minute, there's a vehicle with nice blue and white, checkers on the side and fairy lights flashing and a siren, and you have to pull over. That's a threat, because if you don't pull over, you'll eventually be, rammed off the road. It's a threat to your life. If you don't pull over, and take the orders or the citation from the man or the woman in the costume, there's a good possibility that you could end up in hospital or you could end up being dead. And, it's just this crazy notion that all this stuff is needed in order for this world that we live in to function. Another thing is licensing. Mm-hmm. This is something that you're free to do. However, a group of people have stolen this freedom from us, and usually they make you do some kind of test, and they make you pay a fee So you can get a fancy piece of paper or a card to show to, you know, a man or a woman in clothing that are, you know, again, police or somebody from another abstract idea called council or government, you know, and you have to produce this. And it to me, if the people understand that the words that are mentioned are just fancy words for coercion, theft, fraud, aggression, then maybe I think a lot more people would wake up to the fact that what is really going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you look at it, James, a license is just a piece of paper that you bought from the government that says you can do something which would otherwise be illegal. Now, these people who we're paying supposedly to represent us are purely serving their own interests and those of their commercial sponsors, i.e. the banks. And so, really, if we get a fair and egalitarian system, we wouldn't have such laws preventing us from travelling freely, would we?
No, I mean, you should be able to travel if you take your time, energy, and your talent, or you actually, you know, to build a vehicle or purchase a vehicle from somebody. You should be able to, you know, drive without any license, you know, that vehicle being registered. You know, it's a risk. It's a risk for somebody to travel with you. It's a risk for somebody to be on the road in another vehicle, and it's a risk for somebody to be, you know, on the sides of the roads. But years and years gone by, when people had this marvelous invention called the automobile, there weren't licenses, there weren't number plates on them, you know. Mm-hmm. People drove these around, and then all of a sudden, here's another way to extort money out of people. Let's have these vehicles registered, and anybody then that drives one has to have this piece of paper, or, you know, they have to take a test, and they have to have this license to do so. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm. I remember. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, can I get in? Is it not really necessary though? Because over the years, we've gone from having very few motor cars on very few roads to an awful lot of motor cars. And I'm not sure that I'd want to be part of a system where people without licenses are just driving around on the roads, because there's some bad enough drivers out there as it is. And also, what we've got to differentiate from here is, because a lot of what you've described up till now, James, is what we would hear on people's internet radio. We'd be describing that as legality and the corporate world, yeah, and not where when you take a license and you sign up for it, you as your legal person are saying, yes, I'm going to adhere to all these rules and regulations. And then when you go around a corner that you shouldn't do or break a traffic light or that, we're going to be saying, well, actually, no, I don't need to be adhering to these rules and regulations because I'm a man. Right? So I've got a big conflict with this here myself. One, for the road safety element of all of this, because getting back to even further into what you were saying there, where you don't actually need the license. You can travel, can't you? I think most of us here know that you can lawfully travel wherever you like. But we was having a bit of a talk about this the other night, and we're saying, where does that end you up? Well, we've had this conversation quite a lot on here, and it's a bit of a lottery where that's going to go, you know, and it's not necessarily a good thing. But where I want to get to is what you're talking about with your way of living, with your anarchism, and that's something else I want to ask about in a bit, but
voluntarism.
Yeah.
Anarchy.
Yeah, but, you know, it's very similar to what a lot of people are talking about here in terms of sovereignty. You're talking about self-governance, really, which is, for me, what I've got sovereignty down to. So, if we get along the lines of the whole thing is made just to get us to perform as a legal person, as a corporation within a system that has those rules and regulations, if we bring ourselves away from that to the man, to the woman, to the flesh and blood, as we talk about a lot, then if more people understood that fully, we would have a simpler way, eventually, of getting clarity in what this legal nightmare actually is. The legalese, the double talk, the stuff that we all have to learn if we want to deal with all of that. And
right, and there lies the problem, because you've got these men and women, like I say, that call themselves politicians, that call themselves government, and they write things in legalese. They create laws. They create statutes. They create acts. And I just want to get back to actually when you were saying about the traffic, that you wouldn't like to be on the roads with something like that. Well, did you know that there's certain towns in Europe that have actually removed all traffic signs and all traffic lights and anything to do with the signs telling you which city is in which direction and stuff like that, but they've done away with it. And what do you think that's created? Do you think it's created chaos, or do you think it's made the streets more safe?
From my experience, I'd say it's created a freer flowing traffic system.
What about you, Tony?
You wouldn't be asking me that if Andy weren't right. So,
okay.
Going with
well,
that.
yeah. Basically, what happens is when you have signs and restrictions, and they've done studies where if somebody's wearing a seatbelt, they will actually drive faster and less carefully than what somebody who's not got a seatbelt on. And when there's no road signs and no traffic lights and all these things saying you can't do this and you have to do this and this and the other, what happens is when people are driving into these towns, all of a sudden they slow down. And the reason why they slow down is because it's taking that false sense of security away, and it's getting people thinking more cognitively about what is actually happening around them, more aware of their surroundings. And these towns have actually found that they're not having the traffic problems because this is something that's called spontaneous order. And that's another word that people who are listening to this broadcast should Google, spontaneous order. But back to what you were saying. There's three words that, if anything, that you can all take away from this broadcast that I want you to remember. Voluntary, mutual, consent. Voluntary, mutual, consent. If it's not voluntary, then it's the opposite. You're forced to do it. And if it's not consensual, that you don't consent to it, then it's unconsensual and you're being forced to do it. Mm-hmm. So this is what I'm saying, that if things are done on a voluntary, mutual, consensual basis, if that's what we do, if somebody consents to exchanging goods and ideas or services, then that's fine. And if it's voluntary, if you're volunteering to do something, then no force is being used. And it has to be mutual. Because if it's not, then if you don't agree, then you're free to walk away. And this system that we live in right now, all around, wherever there's a government, wherever there's a body of people that are telling people, governments have always done this. Governments make people do things that they don't want to do, and they stop them from doing things that they do want to do, and all their demands are backed up by police with using force. And we're seeing it now. Somebody doesn't pay their, because they lose their job, right? Somebody doesn't pay their mortgage or rent, right? These people, these men and women that they've given this name, bailiffs to come, and who shows up behind them? The men and women in costumes that are called police, right? And they come and they just steal somebody's stuff. Well, what happened to the person's money that was invested in that property? Shouldn't he get some of that back? Shouldn't he or she get some of that back? If it's a car and the car's being repossessed, shouldn't they get some of that money back? I mean, we are living in a world of fraud, and through this, these laws, acts, statutes, whatever fancy words that they come up with, basically, it's fraud. Laws are fraud. It's a group of people telling others, what they can and cannot do. And by the way, if you don't toe the line, this is what we're going to do to you. We'll steal something from you. We'll use violence against you. We'll kidnap and we'll cage you if we need to.
Mm-hmm. Just an interesting point from Ken in the chat room about the travelling. He said, surely the Sestui KV Trust would cover any financial risk, and that says you operate with full liability.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be things called mutual aid societies. I don't know if you're aware of mutual aid. Are you aware of mutual aid?
No.
Mutual aid societies were where people volunteered to pay money into a group of people or whatever, where these were kind of like trustees. And should somebody within the village or the city that they lived in, depending on what they were paying the mutual aid society for, be it health or something like that, let's say somebody become very ill that they're not working, they don't have any dependents, they don't have a mother or father, no brothers, no sisters, no children to help out, and a couple of neighbors are helping, and they paid into this mutual aid. Then the mutual aid would, help pay for the taking care of this person. And that could be used for, if you want to call it a bond or an insurance indemnity, should something happen where you're in a car and there's an accident, and there's two parties involved.
Right, yeah, I've heard a little bit about that before as well, and you can also take out your own insurance in the UK, I believe. You've got to go to one of the highest courts, can't remember exactly what court, and stick about £500,000 in there, and then you can just about do what you like. Once you've done that, it's like your own insurance. So I dare say you could do something like that. Let's say, for instance, trucking companies that have real nightmares insuring younger drivers who have just passed their tests. Maybe they could all get together and make a big pool and start actually bringing some youngsters into a business that desperately needs them with something like that. I don't know. It could be possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like I was talking about was there something else, that you had a question about, Tony?
Anarchy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because
anarchy just means no rulers. That's all it means. It's, people have this, and I'm not saying that you do, but people have this misconception because it's been painted by the mainstream media. Anarchy is people going around, overturning cars, setting fire to things, smashing shop windows, stealing things, causing damage. And that is not what anarchy is. If you look at the definition of anarchy just means no rulers. It means, nobody ruling over you. There is no authority but yourself. You're your own authority. You have no authority over anybody else. You tell yourself what to do. You don't tell anybody else what to do, and that's it. And anarchy doesn't mean, it's not what you see on TV. That's the way that the mainstream media have, painted it.
Yep, I understand. I've had a lot of debates about this with people over the years who just don't get it. One bloke claims to be an special agent or something or other, and involved in all sorts of things. Right, pretty clever fella, really. He seemed a clever fella until he just couldn't work out what anarchy was. Wouldn't have it. I sent him some links and all that. Still wouldn't have it. So indoctrinated with it. It was unbelievable. But in essence, that sounds like you're saying self-governance, which is what I'd say as a sovereign.
Well,
I try to leave the word, governance, government out of things. I think these are, like I say, what it boils down to is that you're just a man, and that's just a woman, and that's just another man, and basically, I don't have the right to boss them around, and they don't have the right to boss me around, and, that's what it boils down to. If you want to call it, self-governance, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with it personally myself, though. I don't use that word because it leads then to government, governing, and then the next minute, we're back to government again. I don't want a revolution myself, because a revolution is 360 degrees and it just ends us right back to where we are. I want to evolve. Like I said earlier, I want to try peace, and I want to try, love and caring for our fellow man, and trying to help people, and people help themselves as and when they, when they can. And I think that, that would be such a great world, to live in. And it doesn't matter, what we use as currency, as, that money, this fake pieces of paper with nice colored ink on it in England, it's just mainly green over here in the United States, and numbers, and they're called Federal Reserve notes, which is, it's just a piece of paper that represents nothing. And the only reason why that system exists is because people have confidence in it. If the confidence was to go away from this very system that the central banks have created of currency, money, then the whole thing would, cease to exist. But, before we can get to that, then obviously we've got to look at other ways of trading. And, to me, that could be, in what's called, there's different things springing up now. I know there's a system that's been around for a long time. I think it was invented by a Scottish guy, but I'm not quite sure. It's called LETS, L-E-T-S. If you Google that, LETS, I forget what it stands for. It's an acronym. And then there's, systems where people are, using, time credits. So a community gets together and, they create a system, and it can be computerized because we live in in fact, a lot of them are, we live in the computer world, technology age, and you go and do work for somebody, and they pay you in hours, and then you can use those hours to, go and trade them to buy food or whatever it else is. There's lots of systems, and I'm all for what's called competing systems, where people can come up with ideas and people just use them, and you're not bound by one thing. Back in the past, because silver and gold was, shiny, right, and looked pretty and everything, and everybody wanted it, that's what was used. Gold and silver coins were used. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to using gold and silver, but I would like to use other things also. But gold and silver led to the system, the fiat currency system that we're in today. And how that happened was that people would take their gold and silver, because they're sick and tired of carrying it around, to the goldsmith's vault, and he would hold it for them, and he would give them a certificate, a piece of paper. And instead of them coming to get their money out the vault, they would trade these, at the marketplace. And he had all this money in his, vault, so he decided to start lending it out and started to make money. And when people cottoned on, then, and that's how you've ended up with this, that led the gold standard and led to where we are now with money. But at the end of the day, it's just an idea, and it's forced upon us again. If any of us here, or any of the people in the chat, or anybody in the world was to start creating their own money, then these people, that call themselves government, would send their enforcers around, and you would be stopped. There was a guy here in the United States, I actually met him not long back, who ran the Liberty Dollar. And because he used the word dollar, he was using silver and gold coins, and you can Google that. Google the Liberty Dollar. Bernard Knopfhaus, that's his name. I met him up at Porkfest in New Hampshire this summer just gone. They put him in prison. They had him, on house arrest. This guy's, his trial's just finishing. It's crazy. But yeah, if you Google that, the Liberty Dollar, you'll see what that was all about. And that was all about somebody trying to create another, system of, but I think it's because he used the word dollar. There's certain words that they don't want you using. I think you can use token and, coin or something coin, because you got Bitcoin now. But yeah, I'd like to see all different kinds of things where we can trade. But the most important thing that we need, everything else out of this is a want, as men and women living on this planet. The most important thing that we need, and there's only 3 of them, is food, water, and shelter. And that's the only 3 things that you need to survive. So one of the things that I would, like to see is what they've done. And this is something that's, started spreading, spread over here. They've got a Google map on their website. Well, it did last time I looked at it. Have you guys heard of the Incredible Edibles people up in Todmerton in West Yorkshire?
I've heard of them, yeah. I can't remember what it is they do.
Well, it all started some years back where some people, I guess, were struggling, buying groceries and things like that. So they got together in this cafeteria, and they had a meeting. And they decided that what they were going to do is all the places where there were roses growing, that they were paying for out their council taxes, all the places where there were these shrubs growing, they're just basically going to go and tear it out and start growing food, which they've done. If you go and Google Incredible Edible todmorden.co.uk, you'll actually bring up their website. They got videos on YouTube, and like I say, there are places now throughout the world that are doing this, and they're basically tearing up like village greens. They're going outside police stations and fire stations, healthcare places, and instead of having nice flowers and things like that, I think there are some flowers and that there because they want to attract the bees to pollinate it. They've got all kinds of vegetables growing, and it's free. Mm-hmm. It's free for anybody to come and get it. And they've got people, beekeeping. I believe now they're even actually in the school in that village. They're actually teaching children how to, grow food, and I believe, aquaculture and, all different kinds of ways of growing food. It's part of that school's curriculum. So, obviously when people come together and they do something like this, and they're all of the same mindset, and they're not using violence on anybody, they're not aggressing against anybody, what's happening here is it's creating something for people so that, people don't have to go hungry. If people don't have enough money to buy fresh vegetables, they can just go and, pick this stuff. And the people are all pitching in, and they're all, helping one another. And I think that is, what needs to be done. If you've got land, you can create things like this. You can, and I know that there are other projects throughout here in the United States, and I know there's some in Wales where people are trying to get off the grid. They're trying to get out of the cities. They see cities as traps, as prisons basically, because once you're in these concrete jungles, there's not much you can do, to create things like this. And I think what these people have done, it's something that works. and I would encourage anybody, to get involved in something like this, because I think it's a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd just like to go off a little tangent there, because I've spotted something a few moments ago in the chat room, which I think, in the scheme of what we're doing, is quite important. Because I always fear, when we're talking on the air like this, a lot of the time, we're preaching to the choir. We're talking to so many people who are fully aware of what's going on in the world, and oftentimes we're not reaching the people who are not aware. But something I saw a little while back in the chat room, Keith it was, posted that his son Daniel, who is 4 years old, listens to PIR all the time, and he absolutely loves it. People power, or power to the people. Now, I'd like to say good evening, Daniel. Welcome to PIR, and we're really glad you're listening to us. Tell all your mates about us, and before you know it, we'll, instead of having an average age of mid-50s, we'll have an average age of about 8 of the listeners. So that'll be great, won't it?
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Hi, Daniel. Can I just say about the incredible edibles, while you was talking there, James, I remember where I'd heard of them before. Somebody from there has actually been on People's Internet Radio. I'm pretty sure I'm right. I think it was Dr. Rock a month or two ago I was listening to. But yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, really good stuff they're doing. There is quite a few groups in the UK doing similar things as well. Dr. Rock brings us quite a bit of stuff, information about that sort of thing, and he will be back next week, folks, for all those that have missed the doc as much as I have while he's away. That'll be good.
Yeah, I've certainly.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, the technology's out there, people have got knowledge. The knowledge is on the internet if they haven't got the knowledge. We can create electricity using solar and wind ourselves. I think it's just a case that people need to get on with it and broadcast it and let people know that, this is what they're doing, that, and why they're doing it is because they don't want to be forced to pay an electricity company for something that they can generate themselves. I watched a great video, the other day. The guy, the 5-hour energy drink? Have you seen that? It's on, over here, it's on you go into a gas station, there's a small bottle, that's petrol station in England, there's a small bottle by the counter. They have them in grocery stores next to the registers and things like that. It's a small bottle, basically, you drink it, and if you're down, you don't have energy, you drink it, and it's got like caffeine and things like that in it, and, it's supposed to give you energy. Well, this guy's made that much money selling that. His business, took off. He can't believe it. He now wants to invest back into people, because obviously the people buying this, people bought his product, made him wealthy. So now he's inventing things. He's got these inventors that are inventing things with him. And one of the things that he's invented is a bicycle that if you pedal it for 1 hour a day, it gives you 24 hours of electricity. I mean, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, you're getting exercise, by doing it, and you're creating electricity. And the video's on YouTube, and I'll have to send it to you, Andy. He's got a couple of projects. One is places where there's hardly any water. They've manufactured, or they're inventing these engines. It's like a desalination plant, and they put them on these barges and they push them offshore, and it sucks the water and it cleans the water, and there's a big bendy tube on the back of it that comes back to shore, and it pumps this water back, clean water that people can drink. But there's lots of things that people can do that we don't do, and we can collect rainwater. You can build rainwater catchment systems by putting small roofs up, just a stall with tin sheets on and guttering, and then rain barrels, and you could use 12-volt pumps to pump the water from, these barrels into a larger tank, and then you could clean and filter this water and use it for drinking or watering plants and stuff like that. You know, there's lots of stuff, and it's not that there are not people doing this. There are people doing it. I think that more people should be doing this.
I think absolutely right, James. A lot more people should be doing these things. Getting some fantastic ideas in the chat room now. People talking about using pallets for making various things. P.O. there, cornice above his fireplace is made from pallets. And somebody else earlier said they were making raised beds from pallets. I think it's amazing reusing these resources. Although I did used to quite enjoy selling pallets when I was a truck driver, because I used to get a nice little bit of bonus there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can make from pallets, sheds, chicken coops, you know, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of ideas. I saw some guy was getting pallets and he was taking them apart and he was making really nice, you know, using the wood off them, and he was making really nice, like a farmhouse table. So he would get it was mainly the, you know, the thicker pieces where the wood is actually nailed to them, or I think they use staples, don't they, or something like that. He was actually using those pieces, the pieces in the middle. He was like stripping the wood off and using those. And then once he got it all assembled and everything, he would sand it all down, finish it, and, you know, and sell it. And people were amazed that this thing was actually made from pallets. But yeah, there's lots of things. I mean, have you seen these earth ships that they're building? I think there's one in Scotland that they're building right now. Have you seen these earth ships that they're building or have been built over here in the United States?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen some of them. Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff that we can do from stuff that's just going to get thrown into, you know, a dump to be covered up by soil for all gases and everything to, you know, accumulate, and God knows what, you know, from that's going to get into the water tables and, you know, and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, like, I know a lot of people's probably going to go, something when I say this unless they already know about it, but, human manure, I mean, what we're doing right now is we're, you know, doing our number ones and number twos, and I'm saying it like that because you've got a young listener. Mm-hmm. Doing our number ones and number twos into a toilet. You're sending it then off to a, you know, sewage works. They're cleaning it, and then they're sending you, after they've taken the number ones and the number twos out of the water, they're sending that water back to you to drink and to shower in. Mm-hmm. When, you know, realistically, if, you know, things were dealt with, if human manure was dealt with, it could be dealt with a different way, and you could actually use it, believe it or not, for composting if it's done properly. Nature has a great way of taking care of things.
Yeah. I've got one or two questions that are being passed through to me on Skype, but unfortunately, my computer's being really weird at the minute and won't let me click on anything, so I can't ask you them questions for a minute, but I will get to them as soon as I can, hopefully.
Okay.
Paul Sturm's saying that you get busted collecting and storing rainwater in your property stateside. Is he really in NC? So what he's basically saying is, are you up with what's going on with that sort of thing where you're living?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about how people are accepting this. They need to stop accepting this, and they need to, you know, stand together. I mean, we're paying people to enslave ourselves and enslave everybody else. You stop paying them, and the enslavement stops, doesn't it? If you go and tell them, if you can get enough people to go with you and go and tell them, we're not paying to be enslaved anymore. We're not paying. And, I know that it's going to take some people, like they did with the poll tax in England, where a bunch of people stopped paying it and they put them in prison. But what happened? they changed the poll tax, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame. So what?
Because they did. They changed it, but then now they've got one that's just as bad, if not worse, called the council tax that they put you into prison for.
Right. So, but what I was about to say before you come in there was that if they would have said, well, are you going to get rid of it altogether? Because if you're not, then just leave me in prison. Just I'll stay in prison. And that's what they should have done. People, regardless of this tax, it's theft. People are having money stolen from them left, right, and center. I mean, Britain, amongst other European countries, must be the highest place for this theft that's happening. I mean, if you were to get your pay stub each month, you pay, and see how much, and write down how much money that they've taken, off you in taxes for the fruits of your labor. And then every time you buy something, work out what is it now? Is it still 17.5% or is it up to 20% now VAT?
Yeah, it's 20, I think now.
And then every time you pay something that's got VAT on it, write that amount down. And then after you've written that amount down, every time you put gas in your vehicle, write the tax down. I bet you'd be amazed how much money you are paying in tax. And then put the tax on the electricity, the tax on the gas if you're using gas, anything that you're paying out for. Where it'd be a license plate on your vehicle, that's a tax, all of it. A driver's license, that's a tax. Insurance, write that down. This is money that they're mandating that you have to pay. And see how much money you're actually left with at the end of the day. And I think that's what they rely on. They rely on not enough people working that out. Hold on a minute. I'm going to work and I'm making 600, 700 pounds, a week. But realistically, after all these taxes and everything that I'm paying that's got tax on and everything, I'm left with 100 or 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was some figures bandied about quite a bit here in the UK a little while back saying about 53%, and these was figures from the mainstream, so you can bet your life it's more than that. Oh. So it's a lot of money, but what we haven't mentioned yet, and we really ought to, because there will be some people twitching, is that there is no law that obliges any man, woman or legal person to pay any tax. And there has been a $50,000 reward for many years out there for anyone that can find a law that says any man, woman or legal person is obligated to pay any tax. So we ought to bear that in mind, and we need to withdraw consent, and we need to stop funding the things that we're disagreeing with. Big time, I agree with you that, all the way, James. And another little thing that I might want to bat in here with is, we were talking about money, or you were talking about money and different types of money. Well, one of the most successful forms of money in the UK was sticks.
Yeah,
people used to trade with tally sticks, and I know, again, most people here would have known about that, but for those that don't, you want to look into tally sticks, because the period of time in this country was known as the Golden Age, and there was no, the only golden thing was the way people was living, apparently. I mean, I don't know, it's probably a load of rubbish as well, but it seems that for hundreds of years that people lived and traded very, very comfortably just by using sticks. But then I want to go on to sovereign currency, which I don't hear talked about anywhere near enough. Mm-hmm. I think if we look at that, I mean, at People's Internet Radio, there's a lot of people, they're talking about the mathematically perfected economy. And for me, I still don't understand it. I've looked into it and I've heard different ideas about whether it will, whether it won't, and I don't understand it. I want something simple that works for me. I don't want to be a banker, a mathematician or a scientist. I don't want to do any of that. I'd like to go back to taking pictures and just getting on with my life. But in the meantime, I'm doing things like this, and we need a better way. And history has proven to us that sovereign currency can drive an economy like nothing else can. And the problem with the current currencies is probably not so much the fiat nature of it or the fact that they magic it from thin air, but it's the usury, it's the interest on it. And I'd like to, well, what do you think about sovereign currencies, James? You got any views on all that?
Well, before we go there, Tony, we've just done the first hour, it's whizzed by. How about a quick tune while we all get a brew, have a quick wee break, whatever, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Is that okay with you? Okay with you, James?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, yeah.
Okay, here's one of your tunes then, James. We'll be back in a few minutes. Good evening and welcome back to Enemy Within. Tonight we've got Tony Hurst with us and James Cox. So just before the break, Tony, you've got some ideas of where you'd like to go in the second half.
Yeah, I was interested in James' view on some sovereign currency, and it's, what I think is historical proof that it can change everything in a pretty short time. For example, the Bradbury pound in 1914 was implemented in just a few days with the small amount of technology that we had then. And I think the Office of National Statistics in the UK values the UK's sovereign wealth at something like 22.5 trillion, which is an incredible amount of money. So therefore the government could be printing its own cash without any third party bankers and no interest, and could get on with rebuilding the infrastructure of any country really that wanted to go over to this method. I mean, we've seen it in history in several countries in the past and what it can do.
Well, that's what Canada was doing up until 1974, when I think it was Trudeau sold them out to the Rothschilds, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
But now there's a move afoot in Canada to get them back operating the Bank of Canada, printing currency as a credit rather than as a debt.
Yep.
I think they're fighting that. The mainstream press are censoring it. It's not getting reported on. I heard about that from Bill Still, I think it was, about 6 months ago. The guy who did the true story behind The Wizard of Oz. I can't remember what it's called. Did a video about the man behind the curtain. Most interesting video. What's the name of it? No, I can't think. But
I know what you're I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the guy that actually wrote the Wizard of Oz and what the true meaning about that book was about. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
To answer Tony's question about this, no, I don't like the idea of sovereign money because it's still centralized. And I think that we have to get away from this. We have to decentralize things because the way that I see it is the true value in anything is the man or the woman's time, energy, and talent. That's what we're trading. You actually are creating the energy, the currency, right? To trade with somebody else with, no matter what you do, whether it's you're, cutting trees down to create firewood, or you're turning wood into tables, or you're doing a repair service, or a photographer taking photographs for people, or building websites, right? You're taking your time, your energy, and your talent in doing it. That is the true value. So to centralize it, then that means that a body of people are in control, right? And then they can, if they wish, with whatever reason or lies or whatever they want to tell you, can manipulate it and do things with it that they want. I'd be more in favor of a gift economy, if you know what that is.
No, please explain.
All right. A gift economy is basically you do whatever job that you want to do, whatever business. And I think that rather than being business, like working for somebody, I think us all as individuals, as men and women, we should be in business for ourselves, right? We should be able to contract with whoever we choose, so long as it's, again, the three words, voluntary, mutual, and consensual, right? And we should be able to contract with other men and women and do whatever we want, right? And now, in a gift economy, basically, everybody is in charge of their own basic, what they produce. So, for example, let's say, and I'm going to talk in layman's terms again. Let's say I'm a carpenter, right? And I make furniture. I make chairs, tables, bar stools, kitchen cabinets, whatever. I produce these, and I have a place. And, you know, we're talking here in the absence of government, right? This would only work in the absence of government, or, you know, any regulatory authority, any hierarchy. So I create all this stuff. I make things from wood, and I have a shop, and somebody comes in and they say, I'm going to take that table and chairs. Is that okay? And so sure. And they take it. Now, you, Tony, you have a restaurant, right? So me and my family come, and we come in your restaurant, and you create food, and, you know, you ask what it is we'd like to eat, and we eat, right? And then Andy might have a, you know, car repair service, or, you know, repairs cars. And so you, Tony, take your car to Andy, and Andy does the oil change on it, or if we're in the land of electric vehicles, then you've got a problem with it. So might be a problem with one of the electric motors, and Andy takes the electric motor off and puts a new electric motor on it. And then Andy then, you know, comes back to your restaurant and eats food. You do things because you love doing them, because you want to do them, because you like to do them. I know, Tony, that you like to take photographs. So you might just go and take photographs for people. And so people get to use your services, and you use other people's services, and there's no money involved. You just do it. You just do something that you love doing.
Yeah, so you're basically talking about bartering, but what happens, I mean, Babushka's saying that, you know, you're buggered if you've got no skills at all, but, you know, let's just say you wanted some photographs off of me, but you've got absolutely nothing that I want. What happens then?
I don't give you anything, because you can go and get whatever you want from anybody else. And when anybody wants your services, they call you up and say, hey, I want to put some new photographs, Tony, and the last time I talked to you in my restaurant, you told me you were a photographer, and you left me a card with all your information on, and that's why I'm calling you. Can you come round, you know, and take some photographs, and, you know, give me the photographs to put on my website, because I want a real, you know, professional job done of it. I think that to say that some people, you know, don't have any talents or any skills, I think that's a misnomer. I think everybody is good at doing something in some way, or they can help somebody, right? Whether it means that, say somebody doesn't know how to, you know, change the spark plugs of the engine oil, or change a electric motor, then they can go and help somebody by, you know, taking out his trash or something like that. You can do whatever you like to do. You know, I think there's lots of things that, you know, people can do, and they don't necessarily need I don't think you necessarily need a skill to do them. It can be a helping hand.
But there is many people in society that can't really do a lot. There's an awful lot of people suffering from different diseases and handicaps and that really can't even help themselves. I mean, who's going to help them and pay all their bills and get them the things that they need? Is there some sort of...
Well, they wouldn't pay any bills, would they? We're talking about getting rid of money, and it would be a gift economy, and it would be, there are people, believe it or not, that love to actually, bless you.
Sorry.
there are actually people...
Don't say that. You don't believe in heaven, do you?
Huh? Gesundheit. Sorry, I misspoke. Gesundheit.
Yeah. Well, in Spain they say Jesus.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there are people that are, that literally are, you know, they have empathy for problems that, are happening in the world, and they want to help. I mean, look at all these people that go overseas, right, to help charities, right? They don't get paid. They get a roof over their head, they get food and water, right? And they don't get paid. They're volunteers. They're doing this, They're taking care of sick people, you know, whether it be in Africa, in South America, in war-torn countries like Iraq, Afghanistan, right? There are charities there are people that actually go and do this, you know, and if you took the money out of the equation, then I don't think we'd have all these, you know, people with this megalomaniac, attitude of, you know, wanting to go and drop bombs on people and murder people because they want to steal their resources. I think it would be, it would, you know, who's going to want to, you know, do that if they're not extorting money from people? It's the very fact that we're having money extorted from us that, and we have this central bank that can keep producing, you know, money out of thin air that pays these people that manufacture bombs and weapons of mass destruction, aircraft carriers, you know, fighter jets, bombers, you know, big bombs, rockets, whatever, and they have to be used. Why do they have to be used? Because if not, there'll be a stockpile of them. So that's why there's wars, because you've got these munition manufacturers that keep producing all these bombs and big tanks and rocket launchers and things like that. And if there's a stockpile of these death devices, then this so-called thing called the government is not going to pay any more money to them, because they're going to say, hey, we've got what we need. We don't need anything else. They're going to say, well, you need to start a war then. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Who can we tell lies about now? Oh, yeah, this person in this country, he's a dictator. He don't want to do this, or he's oppressing his people. Let's use what we've got, so then we can extort more money out of the people to buy more rockets and bombs, to blow more people up and to cause more death and destruction and more displacement and, you know, cause all these people to run away to countries that are doing it. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing all these people from Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq, right, getting out of the way because they've had enough of it. They don't want it anymore. So somebody has actually said to them, listen, England's not getting bombed. They're the ones dropping the bombs, or they're manufacturing the bombs, and America's not getting bombed. So maybe we should go to the countries that aren't getting bombed, that are starting these wars all the time. And so the problem that's been created has been created because the people in these countries that are at war and dropping bombs on these countries have gone along with the plan, and they've allowed these men and women that call themselves government and politicians to do what they want with their money, and this is the outcome of it. You take away that if you have a gift economy where basically you just do what you want to do. You might be a painter. You might like to paint things. You might be a welder. You might like to weld things and make things. You might be an artist. You know, people, once you make it, you know, you put it out there, people can take it. You grow food. People will take it. I mean, it's just, you know, it's a crazy world that we live in, that people love this piece of paper. They love this piece of paper that says £5 on it, or $10 or $20 with a dead president's head on it, or that woman that calls herself the queen, that hairy goat-legged person, you know, they love that more than what they love people. It's strange. People love things and use people. And I just, this whole thing, I'm not against money at all. I'm against when money becomes centralized and people are allowed, to control it. And when it becomes centralized in any way, shape, or form, when there's some kind of authority, some kind of governance over it, some government, then, you know, that's the problem. So I'd be more inclined for a gift economy, competing currencies, different things that, you know, different ideas, you know, that come into the marketplace. It could be, you know, time hours, like I said, where people work on time. Right now, I'm quite sure there's a lot of work that needs to be done in England and over here in the United States, but people don't have this thing called fiat currency to pay them. So, you know, if you went to somebody's house and you had some kind of method where you get paid in time hours, then you can go and exchange them. Somebody writes on a piece of paper, James came and worked for me for 8 hours, and then you take that to the store and you talk to the store owner. That will be another way. The store owner says, okay, I'll take that. And then he can trade that 8 hours of time for, getting an oil change on his car or, whatever it is. Why can't we write our own currency? Why does somebody have to be in charge of writing the currency, creating the currency, putting ones and zeros on a computer system? Like I said, gift economy and all different kinds. I'd like to see a competitive way of trading with one another.
It sounds good. It sounds, almost like the sticks in a way, but I still think that maybe, I don't know, things like the amount of drug addicts that we've got on the planet, and that, how does that all work out in a system like that without a currency? I don't know. We've got a question now. I mean, we could probably go on with this for a long time. I like what you're saying. I like the idea of it, and I would like to talk more about like the possible practicalities of that. Mikkel's asking about the transition from the current model of the gift economy. What would happen to average people who had debts owed to them, or money tied up, things dependent on current system to some extent? Okay, I don't.
What would it matter? What would it matter what happened to it? At the end of the day, you'd be free to do whatever you want and go and do whatever you choose, and you'd be able to go places. People would be doing things because they like to do it. Look, when we start having these conversations, people have got this, they're not thinking about this as being absent of government, right? I'm talking here about a true free society, a true stateless free world where there is nobody saying to you, you can't do that unless you get a license, right? Where you get a license from somebody to do it, right? I'm talking absence of all that. So basically, you would be living your life, right? You would be living your life freely, happily, doing what you want to do. And what is more, when you're doing what you want to do and you're not doing harm to anybody, what creates more happiness than that?
I understand. How would we go about that transition, though? I can't see that being easy.
How would we go about the transition? Well, people would just carry on doing what they're doing. So if you're a nurse, right, you would carry on nursing. And if you want to go and, get some clothes from somewhere, you just walk in and you get it. Now, if there are people in Mogadishu or, in one of these third world countries that are working in these sweatshops, if the people that are over there manufacturing this stuff don't want to live by that, that's fine. That becomes their problem to sort out now where those clothes are going to go, where they can carry on trading them for dollars, right? We're talking about your community, the area that you live in, right? And so, like I said, if you're a nurse, you go and get clothes, whatever you want. If you're looking after people, and you go and eat at restaurants, and you go to this, the local farmers market or supermarket, depending, basically I'd like to see more co-ops where, people come together and they've got a huge piece of land and they start growing, the vegetables, and they've got they've got everything on there that's open for inspection for people to come and look around. So they've got the animals, so they've got cows, sheep, chicken, eggs, and people come and they can look around. And at the front of the actual land, they've actually got the grocery store and the slaughterhouse, and that is behind that. And right, so you can actually see what you're getting, right? You can be there because, you don't want people, well, I don't anyway. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but, you have because chickens are factory farmed, they pump them with all these antibiotics because chickens kept together obviously spread viruses, and it's not good if you're doing it for, for the reddies, right? If you're doing it for the money and half your chickens die, that's half your profit that you're making. And there's just so much stuff that goes to waste, like vegetables and fruits and things like that don't even make it to the grocery store shelf because the grocery stores want a certain size, a certain color, right? I mean, the stuff that, that they throw away, these farmers that they just, go and feed the pigs with, or, just turn back into compost. It could feed people that are going hungry in this world, but they don't. Why? Because money. They love money more than what they love people.
Uh-huh.
So, in a world where, in a gift economy where, you do things because you love doing it, you want to do it, it's something that you like doing, then, I think you'd have less scams because you take away the incentive, and the incentive is money, which can corrupt people. I mean, justice system, it's all about money. Why should somebody be paid, right? Why should somebody be paid to actually sit on this high desk with a black robe on, right? And telling people what their fines are and, and all this stuff. That is corruption right there to its level. You're never going to have justice while ever you have the money that we have in this system. So my idea of a true system of justice would be that basically somebody that has got a reputable standing within the community, and there'd be quite a few people that have done good for people, John, who helped save the little boy out of the river who was drowned in, or Peter that put Shirley's house out because it was on fire and saved Shirley and her kids and her husband from the upstairs bedroom window by bringing his ladder, right? These would be, and I'm not going to use the word citizen because that means subject, which means slave. These would be upstanding men and women, and these people may be asked, listen, we know that you've not done anything wrong, no harm to anybody, nothing's been reported in the community. You've done, some pretty good things. However, Peter has allegedly assaulted his wife, and we need to know what to do with Peter. Would you be the judge? And let's bring people in from the community. But nobody gets paid. Nobody gets paid. They just do it because they want to know what's right and what's wrong to put things right. Now, if Peter doesn't come to court, then I think the best thing to do with him then is let everybody know that Peter didn't come to court, and then it should be up to, I think, social ostracism. So if Peter now wants to go and get food at Tony's Bistro, and Tony has had word that he hasn't showed up, he refuses to be served. I'm not going to refuse you because I'm not going to serve you. I'm refusing you because you didn't go to court when you allegedly hit your wife. She showed up. They had the jury and the judge there, and basically you didn't show up. So therefore, I'm not talking to you. And we have that term, don't we? Sent to Coventry. I'm sending you to Coventry. You can appeal. You can write to the person that was going to be the judge that day and ask for another trial to be set. You can ask the jury members to be reseated. And if they agree, then we have a trial. And then once we find out the outcome of that, of what damages, reparations, and the reparations as well should be down to the victim, his wife, who is allegedly, hit. She's the one that gets to say what she wants Peter to pay, not some judge. He's just there. He's just there to keep order in the courtroom. And the jury are the people that say whether he's guilty or not. And that's it, period. And that's how I think, as I've said before, these are just my ideas. I think that the world would run a lot better if it was done this way. The guy who's acting as a judge, he's not an authority. He's just there to keep order in the courtroom. He doesn't sit any higher than anybody else. He doesn't wear a stupid black dress. He just stands there and he says, "Can we have quiet, please? Can we have quiet?" And you've spoken. You've had all what you've got to say, and now you want to speak again. You can't let this person speak. Let's hear the facts, and that's it. It's simple. We seem to complicate things, and money gets in the way. When money gets in the way, fraud happens, and lots of stuff starts to happen to people. And in the justice system, the victim or the victim's family never gets compensated. It normally ends up with them having to take out another lawsuit, which involves them paying money to take the person back to court to get compensated. And I think putting people in jail, I think that's a stupid idea as well.
Mm-hmm. On the subject of putting people in jail, we've got a subject that reared its head, and I was watching the chat room waiting for it to come up. And I think it was Delamitri asked a few minutes ago, what's your view on growing hemp? And also we've got Lucky Eddie's messaging me in Skype because he's waiting for his sign up to PIR to be approved. So good luck with that, Eddie. And James.
Hemp. Yep, it's a plant. I think it's absolutely criminal that people are being arrested for growing hemp, pot, marijuana, whatever magical word that they've given it. It's a plant. Cannabis sativa, cannabis, whatever. There's different strains of them. I think people should be able to grow it. I know that oil can be produced from it. I think people can use this for medicinal purposes. If people have insomnia, glaucoma, there's various things that it's been proven that it has. It's not cured. I mean, here's what I get from people. Oh, cannabis cures cancer. I've not seen any scientific reports on that. What it boils down to with me is, this is your body, right? This is your body, and you have a right to put in your body whatever you want to put in your body. When somebody dictates to you and uses force, uses violence to stop you growing something that you want to put in your body, then you are a slave. You are a slave. When somebody can dictate to you what you can and cannot do with your own body, you're a slave. I'm sorry. There's no other way to put it. So yes, cannabis, you can grow it. Hey, if you want to manufacture heroin and shoot yourself up with it, I'm okay with that too. That's your body. If you want to, stand on your driveway or in your house and drink a gallon of petrol, gasoline, it's your body. Mm-hmm. Do what you want with it. For somebody to tell you what you can and cannot do with your body, you're a slave. And, it's time that we get out of this slave mentality that, we're having our energy, we're having our time, energy and talent, stolen from us, and we're exchanging it for this fiction, these pieces of paper, this monopoly money, and we need to be coming up with ideas to trade with one another on different levels, different ideas, different ways of interacting, and get rid of this, idea that everything has to be done through coercion, that we have to have a law for this and we have to have a law for that. We don't. You do something wrong. My idea is that basically you find somebody in the, town or village that you live in who is of good character, and you ask them, or it could be a slew of people, it could be 10 people who are good character, and you put the name in a hat, you let them know that this has happened, you pull a name out, and then you select a jury, and you invite this person to come to court. You don't force them, but you let them know. Several people can go and let them know. You've been asked to come to court because it's alleged that you've done something wrong. And if they don't show up, like I said, word gets around, they get ostracized, nobody wants to deal with them, and because they didn't show up in court. And that's it. Why do we have to use violence? Let's try peace and love instead of, violence. We all make mistakes as human beings. People make mistakes. They do. It's part of, learning, the learning process. But, we have this, very violent authority that aggresses against people that says, well, we put a sign up here and if you disobey it, then, you're going to have to pay. And if you don't pay, you'll be kidnapped and caged.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we think then of the mindset of so many in so many countries that would rather do you harm than do you good? How does that transition? How does this? Because it sounds all great what you're saying, James, and don't get me wrong, I'd really like to be living in a world where all that happened. But again, I get back to transition. The people that run the show and with all that they've got and all that they stand to lose in this new system, how does all the value of everything they own transfer? I can't imagine them. There's going to be chaos there trying to get people to accept that. But then going back to, God, blimey, I forgot what I started saying now. What was I started talking about?
How do you defend yourself? Is that what you're saying?
No, there's so many people out there with a different mentality that would rather harm you than help you in life, right? Now,
well,
I'd rather harm you.
If you do harm on somebody, and like I say, I would like to see a world where everybody has a gun or has multiple guns, because I believe that an armed society is a polite society. You are less likely to pull a gun on somebody or a knife on somebody knowing that you could be just rubbed out there and then. And so I think that if, teaching from a very young age, and here's another thing as well. I don't think smacking children, or putting them down or belittling them or talking to them like, they are pieces of dirt is the right way to bring up a child in this world. And the reason why I'm saying this is that when you have, and I think we talked about this the other night, Tony, when you have all this screaming and shouting and fighting in families, that child believes that he is to act, or she believes that she is to act in that way. These are learned behaviors. So it all starts with peaceful parenting. There are videos and documents online, and I encourage you, if you want a better world for the next generation, right? If you want a better world, I think that you should look into some of these peaceful parenting. I know that Stefan Molyneux has some stuff on his website about peaceful parenting, and you should look into that. And we should be encouraging children to do things. We should be lifting them up. And I think that's the problem, right? The confidence is being knocked out of these children by sending them off into this school. And the government school system is nothing but authoritarian. It's built on the Prussian school system. Stand up, sit down, go on break, come back at so and so time, go on lunch, come back, sit down. Oh, you went to you want to go to the bathroom? You just had an hour for lunch. Why do you want to go to the bathroom now? It's all built on belittling people and putting people down and telling people, you're not worthy, you're not good, you're no good. And, instead of doing that, bring people up, tell them that they are good, Why we want to live in this negative misery of telling somebody that they're a good for nothing person and putting them down. It's beyond me. We need to get out of this. We need to get out of this mindset. We need to stop hitting children, and we need to teach children love, peace, and understanding. Did you want to say something, Tony?
Yeah, I agree totally with that. And I was recently listening to an audio book that's on YouTube. I'm going to post a link in the chat box now. It's Stefan Molyneux. Where's it gone? The Origins of War in Child Abuse. I think I got it's a 10-hour book. I got about 5 hours into it, and he started rattling on about the Second World War in a way that I didn't really like. But up till that point, I was really impressed with what he'd put together there, or the book itself, because he didn't actually write the book, but he's talking about that and talking about very similar things to what you're saying. He made an awful lot of sense, and it was quite an emotional ride for me, really, listening to the book, really. So I'd recommend people to give that a check out. It's up there on the chat now. There's other questions here for you, James. We're running out of time, so I don't want to get through these or whatever. Mark asked a question. Where is it here? He wants to know, is there any value in the birth certificate?
I don't think so. I think that some of this stuff with some people might say that there is, but me, no disrespect to anybody that's part of this free man movement and stuff like that. To me, there's only one thing that we need to focus on. Am I being coerced against, or is it voluntary? And I think that a lot of this stuff is, in a way, it can be. There's a lot of information out there that's, it distracts from the fact of what government is. And I'll go back to it again. Government makes people do things that they don't want to do, and they stop people from doing things that they do want to do. And all those demands are backed up by men and women in costumes wanting to use coercion, or if not, violence against you. They'll kidnap and cage you if you don't obey. I think this thing, is there any truth to it that, they want you registered? Of course there is. They want to know who you are, right? They want your parents to write down and get the footprint of you as a baby and some signatures of people to, create this wonderful, marvelous system that they're lying to you about, that get you in there so we can get you a national insurance number, or over here it's called a social security number, right? And that, they want to know through this number. They want to know through this number because that's how you file your taxes. When one country borrows money or gets something from another country, they tally up, I guess, when people file the taxes, how much money, is being generated. So they can actually use it to, borrow money from other countries and stuff like that. But I think, like I said, it's, a lot of this free man stuff, holding the birth certificate up in court and saying this is the person that you're looking for and all that. I don't see any value in it. You are a man or a woman, and you are free to do whatever you want, so long as you do not cause any harm, injury, or loss to somebody or their property. And that's it, period. And nobody has the right to rule you. You don't have the right to rule somebody else. You cannot give somebody a right that you don't have yourself and allow them to do it. These people that crave power are psychopathic megalomaniacs. And if we take that power away, with what we've talked about today, then there's either one or two things that's going to happen. They're going to aggress against you, and if you've got the power, you can use aggression back. And if it means that they're, rubbed out because of it, natural selection, then so be it. You've not done anything wrong. You defended yourself. You feared for your life, and you had to use deadly force to stop that aggression.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we're not far away with a lot of our views on the way we look at things, but there's a couple of bits there. Right, none of us here really are freemen, not freemen of the land anyway, like that. We might be free men in the other sense of the word, and women. But the birth certificate, could it be any of use to you in a court and that? Well, what you're saying about the freeman and that might or might not be wrong. But we've got a member here, Derby 7, who was on a show the other night on Monday with Pat Belden, and people should catch this on the pod if they missed it, because it was a great show. Mm-hmm. And Derby was talking about his birth certificate and other documents and the long birth certificate. And it seems that if you've got the long birth certificate, you can actually prove quite easily that you are not the actual person, that something actually changed at birth that you had nothing to do with. A fraud was bestowed upon you. So there is value in it from that perspective.
What is, I don't understand why people are hung up about the birth certificate. I mean, if they're talking about this for proving jurisdiction, just like what Mark Stevens says, if you do have to go to court, ask them, where's the evidence, where's the facts that you have jurisdiction over me? And an opinion, which is all they can come up with, is not a fact. It's just an opinion. Mm-hmm. And that's somebody else that if your listeners want to go and find out about beating parking tickets and stuff like that, certain things, Mark Stevens, that's MarkStevens.net, Mark Stevens, and he's got a YouTube channel. I've got a couple of his videos where, and actually, one of the videos that's on my YouTube channel where he walks into the city council in Arizona, and I think that lots of people should be doing this, and they should be videoing it. We should be going, a whole bunch of people should be going with cameras and sitting in courtrooms and video recording what's going on. And because it's just fraud. This is theft. This is theft by deception. We're being deceived that these people, just because they say that the laws apply, well, where's the evidence that the laws apply? Where did you get this authority from to say that these laws apply to me? I know there was more questions.
Yeah, document and verify from whence you derived your perceived authority. It's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, where's the evidence? Where's the actual factual evidence that these laws apply? Where's the actual evidence that you have jurisdiction over me? Am I not a man that has as much rights as what you do, and you don't have any more rights than me? I can't do what you're doing to me. What grants you the right for you to do what you're doing to me, along with your enforcement agents here? Just because you have a monopoly on violence? And that's what it boils down to. Because there's the majority of people believe in this abstract idea of government that it gets its monopoly on violence, where they can do what they want, and if you don't, comply, they'll use violence against you. So, people need to wake up to this fact that this is what the system is. It is nothing but a forceful system that uses fraud, coercion, theft, and aggression, and violence against you, will kidnap and cage you, and if you resist these people, you could end up either seriously injured and in hospital or murdered. Uh-huh. Why do you want to live under such a system?
That is a very good answer there, James, and I'd like to thank you very much for coming on tonight, especially after the debacle we had last week, where you read out your intro 3 times and we still didn't get it on air. And I'd like to give Tony a big thank you, and I'd like to say I'd honestly like to hear him talking on the radio a lot more, because I think he's got a lot of good stuff to say. And going back to that first show I ever heard him do about the flotation tanks, I'd love to hear that one again sometime when he's playing podcasts. I'd like to remind everyone that we're back on PIR tomorrow, Enemy Within, 2 to 4 p.m, and we've got quite an interesting guest, because we've got Vin tomorrow. And Vin will be talking about the official offer to our American listeners and to PIR initially, and then we'll see where the conversation goes. I know he's got 1 or 2 interesting things he'd like to talk about. And then that will be followed at 5 p.m. by Alison Dunlop and the ADX Files, which is brand new to PIR. So that'll be UFO and paranormal. Alison's been with us a few weeks now, and we've got permission to play her on PIR, so I hope you all enjoy that one. In the meantime, stay tuned for Martin Farrell. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
We'll say
Thanks
good
for
night.
having me.
Thank you very much, mate. I hope you come back on again soon. And you, Tony.
It's brilliant.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thanks very much. Stay tuned for Martin Farrell. Good night, guys. It's not playing. Jesus shit.
You want to mention Mark Gillard's YouTube channel then, while it's not playing?
Yes. Mark Gillard's YouTube channel, Trial by Social Media, is now back up and running, I believe. He had some trouble. He had that hacked, I believe. But Mark's got that back up and running today. And here we are. We've got the music. It's Trial by Social Media on YouTube. I think we've got the music back ready to play. So thanks very much, Tony. Thanks very much, James.
Thank you.
We'll see you all tomorrow. No, it's not doing it. Right. I'm a bit stuck here because, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't get the blooming thing to play. I keep doing
We'll
this.
talk for another 3 minutes then and go without a tune because everyone can still hear us. So.
Yeah.
What is there, James? We haven't posted the links to your sites or anything yet. I've got them all here. I'm going to post them up. Tell us about them.
Yeah, we've got peacefreedomprosperity.com, and on there you'll see a video about the philosophy of liberty. That's a great video to watch. Philosophy there. My YouTube channel, James Cox. If you just type in James Cox Anarchy, there's some interviews on there with different people like Larkin Rose and Mark Stevens and a few other people. And then I've got peacefreedomprosperity.com YouTube channel. There's some interviews and some videos on there. Oh, and also I've got on my channels a documentary of me. It's like an hour long interacting over here with federal agents and police. There's encounters. So check those videos out as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm not sure quite what I'm going to do to actually switch this off because I can't click on anything at the minute, so I can't click to stop the stream. This is going to be...
Just turn your computer off now then, isn't it? Worst comes to the worst, hit the power switch at the back, innit, to drop the stream.
Oh, yeah, I'll drop the stream.
Oh, F4, is it not working to drop any programs out?
I don't want to...
Yeah, looking forward to talking with you more, James. I enjoyed that. And we'll get on to it. People was talking about other things there. We didn't get a chance to ask you about chemtrails and... I don't know, food, all sorts of things there was coming up. But
yeah.
Well,
it's something for another radio broadcast, I guess.
No, I'm afraid it's not working, the Alt and F4, so I'm going to have to switch the power off in a few seconds. So if you could do the honours with a handover, Tony, I'll hit the power button in a few seconds. Sorry about this, folks. We've got some brilliant tune lined up there, another crass tune ready to play us all out, and unfortunately we couldn't do that, so we've got about 30 seconds left.
Just say when you want me to type this in, Andy.
Yeah, okay. We might as well drop them any second if I can just find the power lead.
Alright guys, I'm gonna go. I will talk to you guys later.
Okay, thanks
James.
very much.
Have a good one, mate.
James.
Sleep well.
You too. Alright.
Yeah.
Alright. Bye.
You ready?
Yeah.